Hello and welcome to another episode of QA Bootcamp. My name is Daniel Campbell, and I will be guiding you through this particular episode, and probably all the episodes. Today I'm going to be talking about specialization testing. Now, whenever you join a game studio, it's very, very likely that you will be put on a team rather than just saying, "Hey, test the game." You'll usually be on like an art team, art testing team, or a mission testing team, or an activity testing team, and everybody is an audio tester, much to the chagrin of many QA teams. I'll get to that later whenever I get to the audio testing part of the thing. First off, sorry about the resolution. It is kind of just one of the ways I can sort of alt-tab back and forth between stuff. But here we are in Witcher 3. I'm going to tell you all about art testing first, which is probably the most sort of laborious and boring form of testing, but we'll go ahead and get to it. So what you'll want to do is you'll want to actually basically just be assigned a certain section of the game. A lot of times whenever you join the art team, they will switch it up periodically, but whenever you go to the game, it will say, hey, you have this section for today, and there will be a big map that the developer will have on the wall that has the game world broken down into chunks. And they'll say, hey, you're at chunk 13 today, or something along those lines. So one of the first things I want to say before we get too much into the weeds about game testing, specialization testing, is everybody should be bugging everything. If you're a mission tester and you come across an art bug, bug it. If you are an activity tester and you come across a art bug, you bug it. Or audio bug, you bug it. Okay, that's just the way it is. You're a tester first and a specialization second. All right, so whenever you're working as a developer as an art tester, you'll usually have some pretty special things at your command. Console commands, things to tell you exactly what your location is. So things like that. Whatchamacallit, console commands for coordinates. Sorry, yeah, there we go. Brain farting on that. Okay, so art testing is pretty straightforward for the most part. You'll be running around in game, or you'll be using something called camera slew, which will basically allow you to, oh, there's our first art bug, which will allow you to move around the game, faster usually. Now the problem with using camera slew is that's when you detach the camera from the player and you're able to sort of just fly around. You're not going to want to use that too much, because a lot of times developers hate it when you do that, because there are art bugs that you would only see in camera slew. You would never see it as an end user playing the game. So a lot of your art testing, you're going to want to take screenshots and notes and everything like that, and actually even just find the bugs a lot of times through just regular running around as the player would. Okay, so this is our first art bug. What we would do is we would take a screenshot of it. We would use our console commands to say what the location is, the exact location. It would sort of give an XYZ. And since we don't have that, what we would do is we would just take a screenshot of our location, just say, like, the northeast of the abandoned village. And you might want to do that anyway. More information is always better. So after you take your screenshot and gather all your information, you would go to whatever bug tracking software that your developer uses and document it using our handy-dandy PAL method, the problem, action, location. There's not going to be too many action things, when it comes to art testing, but every now and then there will be. You say the problem is, hey, there's this strange splotch. Looks like it could be shadow-related on the ground here. Okay, so you would art testing. All right, so you would go do your problem, action, location. The problem would be there's this strange looking splotch. The action, you wouldn't need an action for this one, so you're good there. And location would be the coordinates and the location of the console commands give you. You would include lots of screenshots if you need to. This one probably would just require one. And since it might be time of day related, it looks like it might be some kind of shadow related issue, you would probably want to use your console commands to say what time of day it is. So there's that. So another thing about art testing is I said that not a lot of times you'll need an action for your PAL, your problem, action, location. Let's say you're testing a game that has damage models all around. So let's say the damage models of this stool. Like if I could break this stool, or actually a better example is if we were testing in a game that had cars. Let's go ahead and jump over to a game that has cars right now. Okay, so here we are in a game with cars, Saints Row 2. I am going to hopefully be able to grab a car, and I'll show you what I was talking about with damage models and such. Let's see. Okay, so first thing you'd want to do Let me turn off the radio real quick. Okay. Hollywood, I believe, is the name of this car. Alright. So, obviously, first, you'd want to, if you're in charge of, vehicle art testing, you would probably sit here and look it over, make sure there's nothing, too egregiously terrible about it from the get-go when a non-damaged model, and then there's going to be like 500 different variants of this one vehicle, so that's enough to keep you busy for quite a while. Alright, let's go try the radio again. And now what we want to do, we want to smash it up. So, bam! You would smash it up any way you can. Ideally, you'll actually be given a console command to make it completely smashed up. So you would just, input a simple command, and then it'd bring in like a super damaged model. Or what you could do is you could just smash it up with grenades or what have you. I'm looking for another car to ram into it, but we'll have to just do this. But we'll just shoot it up. Hopefully. And there's also there's the destroyed model, and there's going to be the damaged model, so that's another bit of testing you'll want to do. So we'll just look at the damaged model, or the destroyed model. Alright. Anything looking too out of place on it? No? Looks okay, actually. I'm not too crazy about that bumper, but, that's more of a choice than it is a bug. Okay, so yeah, this vehicle looks good for its destroyed model, at least this variant of it, and that is the kind of stuff you're looking for in art testing. Is just very, very tedious, laborious. It's not what I would call high octane fun. But you know what? This is a job, first and foremost. It is not something, you're not here to play video games, you're here to test video games. So there is one last thing on the art part of this, and just so you know, I will be going into great detail on all the different disciplines within QA before, in other videos. It's not going to be just... just these, and then I'm done with it. So, one thing I wanted to mention before I move on to the next section of, the next discipline is models. So, basically, if I were to see this, and I don't pick a parking meter. If I were to see like this parking meter, and I noticed like a bug on the back of one of these, like say if it was like really, really clipping really bad, or if it had some kind of really weird texture issue, I wouldn't bug this one and then run over here and bug this one and then run over here and bug this one. These are all the exact same model. So if there were a problem with this one right here, you would actually want to go ahead and screenshot what the issue is. You'll want to use a console command to get what the model name is, model or mesh or prefab, whatever you want to call it. So you'll want to go ahead and get that, because whenever the developer fixes that issue, these are not all separate bugs. If the developer fixes the issue, like say if this part right here had a bad texture, they would fix that one place, and then it would fix all of these. So while it may be tempting to sort of pump your numbers by bugging each and every one of these, you would actually not do that, because it's not multiple bugs, it is one bug. You would bug it once with the model number, they would fix it, the one model, and then it would fix all of these and throughout the rest of the world, wherever that model would appear. So that's the last thing I wanted to mention for art testing. Let's go ahead and move on to the next section. Okay, next up is mission testing or activity testing. Sometimes they kind of overlap. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll go ahead and take a look at the first part of this mission. Buy some new clothes of sloppy seconds. Okay, so what you'll want to do is obviously just play through it a few times to make sure you're familiar with the mission, and make sure you know how it plays out and stuff like that. But since once you've done that and sort of made sure, let me turn this off. Hang on. Once you've sort of confirmed that the mission stability itself is actually pretty good, what you'll want to do is you'll want to start breaking down the mission into components. So what I mean by that is say, all right, our first objective is buy some new clothes of sloppy seconds. Okay, so you'll think, what all can I do with this component? Right now it's just an objective, so go buy some clothes. Alright, so what I'm gonna do, what I would do as a mission tester, is I would create a spreadsheet and break down each and every each and every objective and what I can do in it. So for the first one, buy something to close the sloppy seconds, I could kill myself right now. The way I could go what I call a failure pass. What are the ways I can fail this mission? The first one is I could die. I'm not really sure how I'm going to be able to kill myself, but like at this point, I would probably have more weapons or I can get the police on me. Yeah, that's another thing. Right, so, and just like that, I have actually created more components. So let's go ahead and pause for a second and go out, and then I'll start a spreadsheet. You would want to start a spreadsheet with this kind of thing. Wait for my PC to catch up. All right. And I would go to this. All right, so mission 1 testing. Objective is buy clothes. Sloppy seconds. Again, you can do it. There we go. All right, these are the things I can do in that objective. Let's say I could die. I could, let's say, shoot or kill the person, the register, the owner of the store. Kill store owner. I could, let's just get full notoriety, like full police notoriety. Full police, I'm going to show a terrible aim at spelling and not put notoriety. I'm sure I could spell it, but, I'm not going to prove it. And let's say I could, I'm not sure if there's a mission area, but I could try and leave the mission area. Leave mission area. I could, let's see, not have enough money. Let's see what that does. Not have enough money. Enough money. I could, I don't know, let's keep going with this objective, and we'll see what else we can find. But yeah, you'll want to do that. You'll want to sit there and think of all the various things you can do to that first objective to get things figured out, and then test each and every one of them, really. And that's really what a lot of, wait for that to go away. And that's really what a lot of mission and activity testing is breaking the mission or whatever it is down into its components and testing each and every one. And that's really the best way, I think, to do it. There is just simply playing the game, which is fine. This seems odd. Okay, actually, you would probably bug this where his head goes down on the table. You'd say, you would use your... And this is what I mean whenever I say, when you're a tester first and then a specialization tester second. This has no bearing on the mission whatsoever, really. But if I see a bug, I bug it. So I would say whenever this NPC in this location is playing this animation, I would use all my debug commands to find out what they are. I would get that bugged. But I'm going to go ahead and see what this does. All right. What is vendor? Oh, it's pointing. Is it pointing me to another store? I'm not sure. Oh, head to Teenage. All right. So basically, I found something that it's not a bug. It's actually working okay so far. But I'm going to go from store to store to store, and let's say that I would kill every single one that it tells me to go to, and eventually see what it does. Like, would it start having me circle back to the original store where it's like respawned person, and I'm no longer under notoriety? Like, what would it do? And that's really what testing is all about, is asking, what would it do whenever I do these horrible, disgusting things to the game. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and move on from mission testing, but that's really what a lot of it is just breaking the mission down into its components and making a spreadsheet. And really, this is the beginnings of a test plan. This is how test plans work. You can get made is you sort of break things down into their components and you work them until you have a really good test plan. So, and then I would do this with every objective. Once I've got the buy close objective, I would make another little section here, and then I would do all the things I can think of here. And yeah, and that would be pretty much mission testing. So let's go ahead and move on to the next section. Okay, so the next thing I would like to focus on is just sort of general gameplay and systems testing. And what that means is basically you just kind of play the game. You always got to have people who play through the game as naturally as possible. No debug commands, no never die command, no infinite ammo, anything like that. Just playing the game as natural as possible. And that's really what you do whenever you're a gameplay tester and systems tester. You'll try to get max notoriety. You'll try all the different weapons. You'll play through missions in weird orders. You'll play through all the activities. You'll basically do everything you can to make sure all of the systems interact with each other as much as possible. And what you'll be doing, and when I say you play as naturally as possible, I mean you're probably going to be playing in a mode called debug, hooked up to a dev kit that is then hooked up to a computer that is running the code directly from the PC instead of from the dev kit itself. So that way, whenever you get a crash or something like that, it will actually throw an error in whatever the system is, whatever the engine is that you're programming in, and yeah, you'll bring in a programmer into your office, and they'll take a look at whatever the issue was, and then rinse repeat until it's all said and done. It seems like this would be the most fun version of the testing, specialization testing. And I agree, it is. I think it's probably the most enjoyable, but even then, it's still a job. By the time you're done with like your first week, you'll probably be sick and tired of the game that you're working on. But yeah, this is just the way it works. So like me, I'm doing systems testing right now. I'm getting max notoriety while in a mission. I'm probably going to get killed. I'm going to see if I can die here. I'm going to kill as many dudes as possible. I am going to go into shops and buy things whenever I'm doing it. But in all honesty, there's not really that much just general gameplay testing going on. Most of your general gameplay testing will be done by what's called soak tests and that kind of thing. So yeah, I'll focus more on that in another video. But yeah, let's go ahead and die real quick, see if it causes any issues. I doubt it will. Oh, that pimp just ragdolled for no reason. No, focus on me. Yeah. Whoa, guy. Stop ragdolling me and kill me. Come on. Yeah, get me. There we go. You're smoked. There you go. Okay. Alright, so moving on to the next sort of testing. It sort of goes along with the general testing of audio testing. Make sure you're wearing headphones, okay? I know whenever you're multiple weeks into the system, you're going to want to, take off your headphones and have conversation. And some of the best, most enjoyable conversations I've ever had in my life have been in the QA pit with all the other testers. I mean, if you really have to do that, just take off one headphone. Just make sure you at least listen to one. And one example I like to give as to why audio testing is so incredibly important and wearing your headphones is so crazy important is at the time I want to say a multiplayer tester, and we'll get into multiplayer testing too. One of the most important, one of the stories I have is we were really, really late into the game. Like seriously, nobody was wearing their headphones, and we had maybe a month left before before we submitted for submission. And no one was wearing headphones but me, and it was really, really irritating to me to see so many people basically not doing their jobs. But that's a story for another time. But so yeah, I decided, I'm going to start doing some general testing. I'm going to run missions and activities and all that kind of stuff because I get the feeling that there's plenty of audio bugs that are simply not being handled. That's an odd thing to see, but I ain't here to judge. Anyway, moving on. So yeah, it's I was playing through one of the missions, and I guess spoilers for Saints Row 2 if you don't know, but there's a character called Lynn. At one point, she is killed in the story, and she becomes a character called Zombie Lynn. So you can call this Voodoo, and she'll show up as a zombie. So there's a mission where you're supposed to be tailing her and in a car and make it look like you're trying to kill her, but you're not. But if you shoot her in the window, and she's still alive at this point in the story, if you shoot her in the window, she starts making Zombie Lynn noises. So it's really kind of, weird to be playing this game where she is fully alive and you shoot her through the window of the car and she's saying things like brains and ow hurt and things like that. So I bugged it. It was pretty telling that no one in the QA department was wearing headphones at that point, and the developers that were responsible for this particular section of the game were very upset that it wasn't caught sooner, because it should have been caught just months and months and months earlier, but no one was wearing their headphones. So everybody's an audio tester. Wear your friggin' headphones. I'll leave it at that for the audio testing for now. But just make sure you're wearing your headphones at all times, and you're bugging audio issues that arise. So that's it for the audio testing portion of this. So let's move on. Okay, so next up is multiplayer testing, and I won't really be able to show off multiplayer testing very well, unfortunately. But really, a lot of multiplayer testing is general stability, yes. But another big thing is you'll want to do cable pulls. A lot of multiplayer testing boils down to making sure that you have stability in your code to handle disconnects and stuff. So, like, say, what happens if the host and the person chosen to be next host all disconnect at the same time? What happens if the host disconnects using just a cable pull? What happens if they disconnect using, pulling the power? Because a lot of times those behaviors can be completely different. What happens if like two of the clients disconnect? What happens if, severe lag happens for the host, but, recovers up just short of the cutoff time for being dropped? Like, there's a bunch of little things that can happen, and really what I recommend is, if you don't already have software to do this, is just have people randomly pull their cables. I've seen too many times in multiplayer games where it's just too much fun. Like, everybody's just having way too much fun and forgetting that it's a job. What they'll want to do is, and you'll want to do what's called take-home tests as well, if the developers and publisher are okay with it. What you'll do is you'll take the kits home, like take a build of the game to your actual physical house, and everyone else on the QA team would do the same thing, and they would just play for a couple of hours. So you can sort of help mimic a better real-world environment, and do cable pulls and stuff like that as well. So unfortunately, I'm not able to show a lot off of this, but, like, say if I were to just quit out right now, let's see if I can do it. If I were the chosen host, hopefully the game, you'd be able to look at the other clients and make sure that they didn't see any kind of really bad issue. Now, actually, Warframe does have an issue with disconnects and lag and stuff like that, where doors will not open whenever there's like a really bad lag and stuff like that. But there was an alert during the lag, and then the door will not open for a bunch of clients. But unfortunately, I'm not able to show off too much of multiplayer testing, but that's pretty much how multiplayer testing works in a nutshell. Is you do all the same stuff you would do in single player, but then you sort of add in the problem with net code and net issues. So you'll try to mimic lag as best you can. You'll mimic disconnects by pulling cables. You'll basically do everything you could think of possible to try and mimic what would happen in the real world, which you'll never be able to 100% accurately do, because it's just pretty much impossible to mimic all that stuff. But you may be lucky enough to have a land forge or something along those lines that'll help you mimic what the real world environment would be like. So that's it for today. I just wanted to go over all of the various disciplines. A lot of developers will have even more disciplines than that. They'll have specialty things that are just to their thing. But I will go over what's called soak testing in a future video, and that's something that all QA department should do for all disciplines. But anyway, moving on. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, comments, or anything like that, because I'm sure it was a lot of material. I'm sure I forgot to mention some things. Yeah, so thank you very, very much for watching, and have a great day.